Charging.
The places that we visit, access and use more or less on a daily basis is what geographers call activity space or action space. A place of worship that we may frequent. The place where we play. These are some parts of our activity space. We go around in our activity space on foot, on bicycles, on motor scooters, etc. To do this, we need to be physically able. If we are not physically able, things become difficult. I occasionally see an elderly man who is also poor and has no legs. He gets around on a 2 feet by 2 feet plank that someone has given him. It has 4 wheels. I don't know his name. I think of him as the plank man. The first time I saw him was at this spot. From his eye level, sitting on his plank, this is approximately what he sees. The white line, the so-called shoulder line, gives him only about 8 or 9 inches of space. He cannot use the sidewalk, so he has to be in the way of oncoming traffic. And he is going uphill. At the top of the hill, he has to turn left. Look at the many barriers he has to cross, including traffic. The area is packed with vehicles during peak times. Having gone past the previous junction, he continues uphill, where he faces more traffic. It would be just one moment of carelessness on the part of an oncoming driver that could be fatal for the plank man. Observe the footpath, sidewalk on your right. He cannot use the sidewalk here either. The shoulder area continues to be only about 8 to 9 inches wide. He cannot cross over to the other side of the road either. The median is a stationary barrier. The high-speed traffic is a moving barrier. When he sits under that red and yellow sign and looks ahead of him, that is, to your left, this is what he sees. The public pay and use toilet. Now, if he needs to use the toilet, he has to cross the traffic that is moving in 3 directions. After he makes it across the junction and reaches the toilet, this is what he sees. Remember, this is from his eye level while he is sitting on his plank. The rise of the sidewalk itself, and the steps to the toilet are all severe barriers to his movement. Yes, he uses this toilet occasionally, and the staff help him up and down the steps, and they don't charge him anything for using the toilet. This is the route I have seen him on. I stopped with the toilet. The route is about 0.8 kilometers, a very short distance for most of us. But the plank man faces many barriers. These barriers make his experience of this bit of his activity space quite difficult. His overall activity space is also severely limited by his disability. When we design our space, if we are insensitive, we deny people like the plank man their geographical rights. We all have a right to safe spaces for us to live in and to move about in. Here are just a few examples of insensitive design. These prevent people like the plank man from exercising their geographical rights. Look at the design of these sidewalks. They are challenging even for those of us who are able-bodied. How can someone like the plank man use them? Or someone who has polio? From the plank man's eye level, this is what the door to a public transport bus looks like. Even if he had the money for the fare, how could he use the bus? Look at this building. There is no ramp or any other alternative for disabled people. This is true of most buildings in India. There are many ways to ease the geographical problems that disabled people face. One way is for able-bodied people to help them overcome barriers. This is not always reliable. Plus, it does not do much for the personal dignity of a disabled person. Another way to help them is through a systemic approach. The law should require all buildings to be friendly to people with disabilities. These laws need to be enforced. These will then make our geographies much more pleasant, and we would be able to exercise our basic geographical rights. For more on this and other geography topics, visit the blog of the Indian Institute of Geographical Studies.